Coastal flood warnings are now in play for a lot of the Central Florida coastline. We're pinpointing the impacts of high tide coming your way in a few minutes.
He was already trespassed from school, but Brevard Public Schools says he went to this campus anyways and caused a lockdown. Now we're learning more about.
Plus, an Orlando judge is keeping the man accused of causing the deadly wildfires in jail.
Streaming on clickorlando.com and broadcasting live, you're watching News 6 at 4 p.m.
We begin with an eye on our camera in Daytona Beach. There is a coastal flood warning right now for parts of Central Florida.
Yeah, you can look at that picture and tell why. Meteorologist Jonathan Kekes joins us now with what's going on out there.
Yeah, we were talking yesterday, guys. The watch that was in play, meaning that conditions are favorable for coastal flooding, would likely be upgraded to the warning. We had that about an hour ago pop up for the Flagler coastline, Volusia coastline, and then the northern half of Brevard County. This means that significant coastal flooding is going to be likely starting tomorrow and then rolling into the first half of your weekend through Sunday morning. Now, the deal with coastal flooding is this has nothing to do with rainfall. This is all saltwater flooding brought on by the astronomical high tides and then a strong easterly wind that's going to develop with a storm system developing off of our coast. For some perspective, if you live along the coast, if you had got close to seeing some flooding this week, the tide is expected to come up anywhere from a half a foot to a foot higher. So just to give you perspective of what you need to do to protect your homes as that water comes up, we're also looking at the likelihood of significant beach erosion in play as well. Now, the tidal forces also have a lot to do with the St. Johns River. The latest forecast gets this back up to, continues to keep it in a moderate flood stage, but ticks it up to 3.4 feet. The next real significant number is 3.5 feet. That's when we start to have issues with water getting into homes. So we're getting close to that mark. We're going to talk much more about the freshwater flood threat because we do have heavy rain coming into play as well, coming up at about 4:17, guys.
Jonathan, thank you. Now to the scary moment when a suspicious man went on a school's property, causing a lockdown.
Yeah, that lockdown was in place for more than an hour this morning at Space Coast Junior Senior High School until deputies found the man and then took him into custody. Your Port St. John community correspondent James Sparvero found out this man has a history of making violent threats against schools, and according to investigators, he lives in the same neighborhood.
At Space Coast Junior Senior High School, parents are here early picking up their children after they heard this morning the school was on lockdown.
It's crazy times we live in, you know?
It's so scary.
The Brevard County Sheriff's Office tells me it's all because this man, Marvin Guth, parked his car on school property. Deputies then say Guth left the car and he went home where he lives just down the street in the same neighborhood. I can tell you from looking at Facebook and from talking to parents that rumors began circulating like he ran through a gate at the school. The Sheriff's Office says that's not true. But here's some facts. Deputies say he's known to this school because he's been trespassed before, specifically from Enterprise Elementary, which is right next to Space Coast Junior Senior High. In March, deputies say Guth threatened to burn down the school. I've censored the profanities in his arrest report, but it reads, Guth said, "I told these punk kids I'm going to kill them and burn this school to the ground. I'll make sure I get a school album with their names on it and make sure everybody knows their picture and their name for eternity." Guth was sentenced to a month in jail in this case. Have you heard the man's known to the school and he's been trespassed, not only from this school, but from an elementary school in the neighborhood too?
So I did, actually, my daughter had sent me a picture of his mugshot. Me and my coworkers were all talking about it. We're surprised that, he's out and about and is able to go and do this.
He probably just needs some help and not just be out on the streets waiting for his trial. Yeah, scary times, but we're safe now.
And Guth's in even more trouble because the Sheriff's Office says while he was disrupting school, he should have been going to court. Guth missed a hearing in an open case in which he's accused of threatening to kill deputies. The Sheriff's Office tells me he's now going to face a failure to appear charge as well. He's on his way back to the county jail on a no bond status. In Brevard County, I'm your Port St. John community correspondent, James Sparvero, News 6.
Guth is expected to see a judge tomorrow. That judge could decide to keep him in jail. We'll let you know as soon as that decision comes down.
Well, the man accused of starting one of the most destructive wildfires in history will stay in jail. These are new sketches from his hearing that happened in federal court this morning. Investigators arrested the 29-year-old at his sister's home in Melbourne, 9 months since the deadly Palisades fire out in California. News 6's Mark Lehman explains what happened in federal court today from Orlando.
There were a lot of new developments coming out of today's bond hearing that lasted for more than an hour and a half. During that time, we learned about previous run-ins Jonathan Rendernecht had with law enforcement, and those coupled with other concerns were enough for the judge to decide that he will remain in custody. Now, after today's hearing, we were there as the siblings of Jonathan Rendernecht walked out of the federal courthouse. They had no comment on their brother's arrest, but during the hearing, we learned he was staying at his sister's home in Melbourne. And in the last few weeks, police were called there twice. First for an argument with his brother-in-law on September 17th when he allegedly said he would burn the house down. And again on September 25th when he said he purchased a gun and would use it in self-defense against his sister's husband. No arrests were made then, but on October 7th, a warrant was served after authorities said he was responsible for the fire that eventually killed 12 people and destroyed thousands of homes and businesses in the Pacific Palisades. And after his arrest, authorities did a search of his sister's home, and they say they found the firearm that was in question previously and that it was zipped up inside a stuffed animal in his the garage of his sister's home. And during today's hearing, prosecutors spoke about Rendernecht's family concern for his declining mental state. Now, there was another hearing that was scheduled for today, but that has been waived. The bottom line, the judge deciding that he will remain in custody while awaiting trial. For now, reporting in Orlando, Mark Lehman, News 6.
Now, we've also been digging into what the 29-year-old has been doing here in Florida for the past 9 months. Mike Valenti is getting those answers. Look for his report on News 6 at 5. New at 4, the man accused of hitting and killing a pedestrian on a busy road in Apopka is out of jail. Jeremy Gonzalez appeared before a judge this afternoon. He was arrested on charges of negligent manslaughter. This happened yesterday morning on East Main Street near Midland Avenue in Apopka. Police say the victim is an adult woman. A judge in court found no probable cause for the charges, releasing him from custody. However, the judge did say the state may charge Gonzalez at a later date. Also new at 4, an encouraging update about a Florida State football player who was shot a little more than a month ago now. FSU says freshman linebacker Ethan Pritchard has been released from the hospital in Tallahassee and will continue his recovery process at a rehab facility in Jacksonville. The school says the Seminole County native is alert, responsive, and able to communicate. A new statement from his dad, Earl, says in part, quote, Ethan has a long journey ahead of him, but I know he will continue to fight, and he will do so with the full support of our FSU and Seminole County families, all who have been impacted by this story. Investigators say Pritchard was ambushed outside an apartment while dropping off a family member in late August. Since then, 4 people have been arrested.
A major decision today could change how drivers get to Orlando Sanford International Airport. The Central Florida Expressway Authority voted on a preferred route for a new connector. News 6's Angie Casada shows us how it will work and why not everyone is celebrating.
All those in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed? Motion passes.
The Central Florida Expressway Authority making it official, approving Route 2A as the preferred option for a new 2-mile connector linking State Road 417 directly to Orlando Sanford International Airport. After more than a year of studying 5 different routes, CFX says 2A strikes the best balance, improving access while limiting impacts to homes and the environment.
Where we find ourselves with economic development as well as the development of the community itself and our international airport is, if this does not move forward now, it'll never happen. It'll be total gridlock in this area.
The project was first studied back in 2007, but put on hold until Seminole County asked CFX to revisit it in 2022. The goal? Cut traffic on local roads like East Lake Mary Boulevard and help travelers find the airport faster.
Huge. Sooner the better. Sooner the better. People from out of town, I know that they're no different than I am, maybe even people from the other side of Orlando. They don't fly out of here typically, and it's very hard to find.
But not everyone is on board. Some nearby residents worry about losing their homes or land, since the route could cut through part of a residential area.
We know it impacts people. We're sorry that it impacts folks, but typically, financially, these residents come out much further ahead.
The next step, design and environmental reviews, which CFX says will take several years before any construction begins. Reporting in Orange County, I'm Angie Casada, News 6.
And as Angie mentioned, some people are worried about losing their homes because of this new 2-mile connector. The route could cut through part of a residential area. Your Seminole County community correspondent Catherine Silver spoke with one homeowner who owns a historic home built in 1865. She says the new route takes her house and cuts her neighborhood in half. She only found out about the meeting on Tuesday. She said she understands the need for infrastructure, but the decision is taking an emotional toll on her.
My husband passed away a year ago in August. This was his family home, so it's actually put a roof over 6 generations of his family, including ours. His dad passed away in this house, or his grandfather, excuse me, and my husband passed away here. His parents married here. Our daughter married here. So there's a lot of memories here in this home.
She said at one point the house fell into disrepair, but they restored it, and they've already had to move the house in the past for developers.
A woman is joining local cities in a lawsuit against the state.
Why she says a new Florida law is threatening her community's way of life. That's coming up.
Imagine this is what your front yard looks like after it rains. I'm News 6 investigator Erica Bergoglio. One Sumter County family says they've been fighting for a fix for years.
My brothers come and dig for bait. That's just how moist our land is.
Coming up, what they say needs to happen and the county's response.
News 6 Insider is sponsored by Orange County Library System.
I'm Joey, this is Kara, and we are your News 6 Insider Guides to Central Florida.
On Day Troopers, we explore all the wonder, adventure, and thrills you can experience right here in our backyard. This week on Day Trippers, we explored the Orlando Science Center.
Wow, this is amazing in here.
I would take him home with me.
You can watch the full video over at clickorlando.com/insider.
Becoming an insider is free and easy, and the only way you can keep up with our adventures through Central Florida.
And don't forget to nominate your favorite teacher for the News 6 Educator of the Week Award, sponsored by Osborne & Francis Law Firm.
Sponsored by Orange County Library System.
Something so simple as being able to get in and out of your neighborhood has now become a luxury for one Sumter County family. I'm Erica Berguglio with the News 6 investigators. Flooding has become the new normal in this neighborhood. This is what their property looks like after it rains.
My brothers come and dig for bait. That's just how moist our land is.
When it rains, it pours for Rain Williams, her husband, and their 3 kids.
We've been out of power a few times because the trees are just sitting in water, falling.
Their front yard has been underwater for the past month. Your whole yard is covered.
This is just lightly.
This is light.
This is light. So the water goes all the way up to my driveway.
Williams and her family had been staying in a hotel because they couldn't get into their home. They've had to do this multiple times when the water gets too high. Williams also had to get a new car after recent rain flooded her vehicle.
It got to the gear shift in my car.
The family moved to the property 15 years ago. Williams said it did not flood until 2017 when Hurricane Irma destroyed their home. Then their new home flooded during Hurricane Milton last October.
Milton came to here. The water was up to here. And then when we just had the rainstorm, it was up to this one.
Williams has been calling Sumter County to try to get some help or have someone come pump out the water. But like her street, she hit a dead end.
The county basically telling us because it's not an emergency, that there's nothing that they can do, and it'll cost them millions of dollars to build a dam or a canal or anything to help us.
Williams says county leaders haven't been to her neighborhood since Hurricane Milton hit last year. News 6 emailed Sumter County and asked if there's anything it can do to fix this flooding. A spokesperson told us Public Works is looking into the case. In the meantime, Williams says it will cost around $100,000 to fix the flood damage inside their home and raise their property. In Sumter County, Erica Berguglio, News 6.
And we'll be staying on top of that story and following up with Sumter County. We'll bring you updates here on News 6 and on clickorlando.com.
All right, time now for a check of your forecast with meteorologist Jonathan Kegas, and he is tracking some rain on the radar.
Yeah, this is kind of the start of the next several hours, like the next 12 to 24 hours of some pretty heavy rainfall, really focusing along the coast. So that's where I'm concerned with the flood threat. We do have a flood watch in play for Volusia and Brevard County. You can track these downpours and thunderstorms with the free News 6 weather app. You'll get lightning detection, and when there's rain around, you'll get a push alert. You can track those the rain right on the radar. Here's the steady stream right now that we're watching set up through parts of Volusia County, also right along the Space Coast tonight. We'll take you a little closer into Port St. John, where we have these kind of bands sliding in. This is going to be the theme. On the drier side west of Orlando, still some downpours around, but certainly the heaviest rain going to focus right along the I-95 corridor and then east of Orlando over the next couple of hours. So pinpointing the rest of tonight, and you're going to see the focus here really along into the east of I-4 and then right up and down I-95. This is 7 o'clock tonight. Again, some of this rain can be really heavy at times, and you see the persistent nature of this rain coming in from the coast. This is because we do have that coastal storm developing over the next couple of hours and into tomorrow. This is 7 o'clock tomorrow morning. Again, the rain won't be everywhere, but certainly closer to the coast and then along to the east of I-4. That's where your commute could be pretty ugly tomorrow with some very heavy rainfall around. I do think once we get beyond lunchtime, the rain starts to back off on a widespread scale. That's 5 o'clock. Still have a few downpours out there. But nonetheless, we're watching that closely, just kind of cling to the coast where we start to dry things out. In terms of the amount of rain coming, again, there could be a good deal, especially along into the east of I-4. That is where we're watching for the potential for some freshwater flooding. We also have that coastal flood warning in play for the likelihood of saltwater flooding as a result of the high tides and the strong winds as a result of that coastal system. Here's a live look outside downtown Orlando. You see the dark skies. We have those downpours close by. A live look with our Light Orlando delivering Hope Skycam tonight. Air temperatures back to the mid-80s. The airport is reporting the rainfall. East-northeast breeze right now at about 15 miles an hour. Now here's a look at tomorrow.
Your forecast is sponsored by Renewal by Andersen.
With the extra clouds and rain around, high temperatures back to the low to mid 80s tomorrow, right around 60% shot for storms again, especially along into the east of I-4 and then right up and down I-95. Not zero completely behind to the west of Orlando, but still not as wet. Now, beyond the weekend, once we get beyond Saturday, I should say, that's when we're going to notice a big drop in our temperatures and certainly in the comfort levels going up as well. Once we get into Saturday, our dew point temperatures are still in the low 70s. That's still that tropical air mass. But then once you wake up on Sunday, it is going to turn very, very comfortable. Again, it's the same front that's going to help provide some of that heavier rain that we're going to get tomorrow. 20% shot for downpours on Saturday. The air temperatures back to the low 80s, and that 83 on Sunday is going to be a very comfortable 83 degrees. We're going to keep things in the mid to upper 80s, so it's still going to be warm. But that humidity is going to be gone, and the mornings are going to be oh so nice. Just have to get beyond the next couple of days of some of this kind of crummy weather for most of Central Florida, guys.
All right, Jonathan, thank you. There is a new law that speeds up the process for building during hurricane recovery. And now a woman is joining local cities in a lawsuit against it.
This is your time to really pay attention to what's happened locally.
Why she says this new law goes too far. That's next.
This portion of the news is sponsored by Light Orlando, delivering hope together.
An Orange County woman is taking on the state.
She is filing a lawsuit over a new state law. The new legislation is designed to speed up building after hurricanes, but the woman argues it goes too far, stripping local communities of control when it comes to slowing down future development. She has now joined dozens of city and county governments. Orange County, Windermere, Deltona, and Edgewater are all listed in the lawsuit.
I'm standing up and saying, even if it is kind of a David and Goliath situation, like I'm showing that there is actually a face to this lawsuit and it's hurting more than just like strokes on a paper.
The lawsuit claims the law is unconstitutional and calls on the state to reconsider how it handles post-storm rebuilding.
A family night out turns into a terrifying situation.
The ceiling from a restaurant crashed down on a mom with her 2-year-old watching.
A 2-year-old seeing something like that happen and seeing her mom knocked to the ground crying and blood everywhere. So it definitely taken a toll on her.
What her family is now demanding, that's next.
You've probably heard about a neighborhood watch, but what about a business watch that keeps an eye on the community? Details coming up.
Welcome back. We're following several top stories right now.
Yes, Space Coast Junior Senior High was under lockdown for over an hour this morning after a man with a history of making threats against schools parked his car on school property. Deputies say Marvin Guth then walked to his nearby home. The man has been trespassed before. In March, deputies say he threatened to set nearby Enterprise Elementary on fire. He is currently in jail on no bond. An Orlando judge has denied bond for the 29-year-old man charged with sparking California's deadly Palisades fire. Investigators arrested Jonathan Rinderknecht on Tuesday at his sister's home in Melbourne. He's been living there for 5 months. Rinderknecht was ordered to remain in custody while awaiting trial on a charge of malicious destruction by means of a fire. The Central Florida Expressway Authority has voted to move forward with a preferred route for a new 2-mile connector linking State Road 417 directly to Orlando Sanford International Airport. The vote came after more than a year of study reviewing 5 possible routes for the project.
All right, a live look now from our Launch Credit Union Port Cam at Port Canaveral. We are watching the flood threat along the coast.
Meteorologist Jonathan Kagas joins us now with what we need to know about that, Jonathan.
Yeah, and there's a couple of things. We have a freshwater flood threat from some of the rain that's already getting underway right now, as you just saw. And then we have a saltwater flood threat being pushed in from the Atlantic due to the increasing winds over the next couple of days and the high astronomical tide. So for that part, we had the coastal flood warning in play. And again, to give you guys perspective, those living along the coast or that have been inundated or getting close to flooding over the past couple of days, we are anticipating that the tides come in a little bit higher than what they were even this past week where we were under those coastal flood advisories, expecting about a half a foot to a foot higher. So again, just to give you perspective of what you may need to do to prevent some flooding in your home. Also expecting significant beach erosion on top of what we've already had due to the combination of those high astronomical tides and again that strong wind increasing out of the east. We also have a flood watch in play that is for freshwater flooding. Likely going to see some bands of heavy rain develop, and we're actually already seeing that right now. We're going to talk much more about those parts of the forecast, and then eventually we sweep this all away and we turn things very nice. That's coming up at about 4:47, guys.
Jonathan, thank you. All right, this next story is pretty scary. A mom is recovering from a ceiling crashing down at a restaurant. Her 2-year-old daughter saw the whole thing happen. This all happened at Flyers Wings and Grill in Pine Hills. Your Orange County community correspondent Jarrell Baker spoke to the family.
Torrance Stover says at Flyers Wings and Grill in Pine Hills, remaining open is neglecting what happened to his daughter, Deja Stover, when she was sent to the hospital after part of the restaurant ceiling came crashing down on her and her 2-year-old daughter on Monday.
Her neck is hurting real bad, her back. She sustained 4 staplers in her head, cut laceration to her top of her head, so she's in pretty bad shape.
Stover says that his daughter needed 4 staples in her head and has returned to the hospital for treatment, and his granddaughter is traumatized.
A 2-year-old seeing something like that happen and seeing her mom knocked to the ground crying and blood everywhere, so it definitely taken a toll on her.
Stover says that the business should be closed until repairs are complete.
I did go back in yesterday because they are reopened for business. And I just seen, they had that whole section blocked off or whatever, but the whole ceiling still look like it's in the same condition.
Stover believes the entire ceiling should be replaced.
Are you worried about anybody else, something like that happening to them?
Yes, I am. And that's why I say I would advise people not to go in there until all that gets rectified. It's not rectified, it's a Band-Aid.
I went to Flyers and saw the damage for myself and asked the manager why they're still open. In an email, managers and staff with the restaurant say that we're deeply concerned about the incident that occurred at Flyers, in which a section of the drop ceiling fell on a customer. They went on to say that we take this matter very seriously and have brought in professionals to assess and make repairs. The building has been inspected by the Orange County building inspector and was cleared to continue operating while making repairs to the damaged section. We also asked the management if that section had prior damage before the incident. We also asked Orange County and the Department of Business and Professional Regulation if they inspected Flyers. We're waiting to hear back. In Pine Hills, Jarrell Baker, News 6.
6 people in Orlando now don't have a home because it caught fire. It happened early this morning around 2:30 on Flores Court. That's near Raleigh Street and Bruton Boulevard, not far from John Young Parkway and I-4. The Orlando Fire Department posted pictures on social media. They say it was a single-bedroom fire. Crews made their way in and quickly put it out. Thankfully, no one was hurt. Firefighters say the fire did not go beyond that one room. The Red Cross is now helping 5 adults and the 1 child who were displaced by the fire. Meantime, in Kissimmee, investigators are working to figure out what caused a house to catch fire and collapse there. Take a look at these pictures from the fire department. You can see the flames shooting from the home. This happened yesterday. This is on east of the Turnpike, north of Fortune Road. Crews believe the fire may have started in the garage, but then spread to both the first and second floors of this home. Firefighters were able to contain the flames before the home collapsed. Everyone inside made it out safely, and no one was hurt.
Some businesses in Kissimmee are teaming up, all in the name of safety. They say one of the best ways to protect against crime is to form a neighborhood watch group. Your Osceola County community correspondent Laverne McGee has the details.
We want our employees safe, and of course the tourism industry is our main function here, right? So you want to keep your tourists safe.
Jim Nichols is the director of sales for the Calypso K Way Holiday Inn Express in Kissimmee. He helps lead the Osceola Chamber Safety Group meetings. It's a group of local businesses that have formed a neighborhood watch. They deal with everything from e-bike theft to cyber crimes.
It's really sharing information to make a safer community. So why not do it between businesses? Why not do it between law enforcement, emergency management, that type of thing?
John Newstreet is the president and CEO of the Osceola Chamber. The Osceola Chamber Tourism Safety Coalition relies on community partnerships.
Knowledge is power. You don't know what you don't know. So if something's happening on one property right next to you or down the street that could impact your business, it gives businesses a chance to prepare. And if we start to see trends, we're able to engage additional stakeholders like our destination marketing organization, the sheriff's office, the county to address some of those issues together.
At last night's meeting, they encouraged people to sign up for their WhatsApp group. And they're hoping Osceola County Sheriff Chris Blackman will accept their invitation to speak at their next meeting. Nichols says the only way for this group to be successful is if as many people as possible join and look out for each other.
Everyone watching out for each other. It's like a family, right?
In Kissimmee, I'm your Osceola County community correspondent Laverne McGee, News 6.
Staying in Osceola County, St. Cloud is getting ready to change the name of a subdivision. It's all part of the city's mission to denounce past discrimination. The city was once known as a sundown town, which is a town that excluded non-white people from remaining in town after sunset. Your other Osceola County community correspondent, Stephanie Rodriguez, explains.
Founded in 1909, the city of St. Cloud began as a retirement community for Civil War Union veterans. While the people who settled it fought to end slavery, equality was a long ways away. For much of its early history, it was a sundown town. In January, the city denounced that past.
It was just the way things were back in the day, that people of color just were not welcomed on the streets after sundown. And of course, that's not who the city of St. Cloud is anymore.
Now it's focusing on the colored quarter.
The land that we're looking at runs between Narcoossee Road and Pine Lane and from 192 to 10th Street. So it's a little kind of rectangular square plot of land that have about 34 houses that are built in that area.
On October 8th, 1910, this part of St. Cloud was named the Seminole Land and Investment Co. Plat of Colored Quarter.
115 years and 1 day later, the city will officially remove and replace the word colored with East.
The city believes the word colored is an ethnic or racial slur, and the best thing to do is change it.
This is 2025. It was time to update that. And it's just, continuing to make sure that our residents and our community understand that St. Cloud is a place that is welcoming to all of our residents.
Stephanie Rodriguez, News 6.
Lawmakers are now considering smaller funding bills to reopen parts of the government. It's now the 9th day since the federal government shut down. Lawmakers failed to break a stalemate again yesterday. In the Senate, a Republican bill to fund the government failed to get the needed 60 votes to pass. Democrats are pushing for the extension of health care subsidies that Republicans have refused.
If you want our votes for the budget, you've got to make sure that you don't ruin the healthcare system this fall.
The difference is they're trying to hold us hostage. No, we want to have a debate about how to do it right, and save the taxpayers' money.
With the two sides locked in, the Senate's top Republican has now suggested he could hold votes on standalone bills to fund parts of the government, including a defense appropriations bill. Meantime, Democratic Congressman Maxwell Frost of Orlando is holding a health care over billionaires rally tonight in response to the continued government shutdown. It starts at 6. It will be at the International Brotherhood of Electrical Workers on Virginia Drive. That's in Orlando.
Over the next 3 years, a local fire department could get some extra hands in the fields.
Why leaders say a new grant from Homeland Security will better protect you and your family. That's next.
I'm tracking a few thunderstorms pushing on shore right now. Some of this could lead to some minor flooding overnight and into tomorrow. We're also having that coastal flood threat, that saltwater flood threat. We're going to break all of that down coming up at about 4:47.
And before we head to break, we want to remind you to check out our primetime schedule on News 6 Plus. We have a new take on the day's news on News 6 tonight. That's at 9. Go in depth as we track the tropics and answer your weather questions at 9:30. Then watch the late news an hour earlier. It's all tonight on News 6 Plus. Download our streaming app for free. Search WKMG in your smart TV's app store. It's also available on Roku, Apple TV, and Fire TV. Fighting fires in one of the fastest growing areas in Central Florida.
For Lake County, the time to keep up with all the growth is now, but it is not cheap. Your Lake County community correspondent Emily McLeod found out how much it's going to cost and who's going to pay.
More resources are coming to Lake County Fire Rescue. Not only are new stations going up, the agency was recently awarded millions of dollars in federal grant funding to bring on 36 new firefighters.
Over the next 3 years, Lake County Fire Rescue will receive $7.5 million to bring on 36 new firefighters as part of the SAFER grant from Homeland Security.
The main thing is the personnel not being burnt out, having to work all these mandatory overtime, which is wonderful, but then again, it's not. It's you get burnt out, you get tired.
For Laura Sokolowski, not only will the new firefighters help the agency, the community will also be better protected.
If you have more people available to respond to a call, the better off it is. It's not like TV where you have these whole teams of like 5 or 6 people. Usually a team is, 2 or 3 people.
Georgette Ayers lives down the street from a Lake County Fire Rescue Station.
Oh, it's definitely a positive thing for our community. Everybody needs firefighters, especially in this area. We're short of everything, so it's definitely going to be a bonus.
The new positions will add a 3rd firefighter to 10 fire trucks across all 3 shifts and provide 6 additional firefighters for backfill.
The fire service is extremely labor intensive. Throwing ladders, pulling fire hose, doing CPR, cutting victims out of car crashes. It takes a highly trained human firefighter to do that, so this is a significant increase.
Public Safety Director David Kilberry points out the extra staffing has an extra benefit beyond public safety: homeowners insurance.
Personnel is a huge part of that and the resources that we bring to a firefight.
Okay, so it definitely could have an impact on people's insurance rates then.
Absolutely, yeah.
I'm your Lake County community correspondent, Emily McLeod, News 6.
The next time you head to the Dr. Phillips Center in downtown Orlando, you will be greeted by a brand new sculpture celebrating a man who helped make it all possible.
2, 1.
The sculpture was unveiled this morning, highlighting how Jim Pugh helped push the project forward from concept to completion. Pugh was one of the driving forces behind the Performing Arts Center from the very beginning, back in 2003. Along with his wife, Alexis, the Pughs were also the center's very first donors. The artist behind the sculpture is Paul Day, who also created the A Beautiful Day for a Neighbor sculpture at Rollins College. Orange County Mayor Jerry Deming spoke at the unveiling and talked about the impact the center has had on Central Florida.
Each year, the Dr. Phillips Performing Arts Center generates over $250 million in economic impact to our area. And over 5.6 million people come here each year. And none of that could likely have been able to occur without the support and the vision of a visionary leader like Jim Pugh.
This year, the Dr. Phillips Center is celebrating 10 years of providing arts to the community, including the 294-seat Alexis and Jim Pugh Theater that has welcomed thousands of artists and performances over the past decade.
That is incredible.
It is, and I can't wait to go and see that sculpture in person. Yeah, and
great.
Loved hearing about the history of, who really helped make the Dr. Phillips Center what it is today.
And how popular it has become in the decade
No
it's
kidding.
been there.
Yeah.
All right, meteorologist Jonathan Kikis joins us now. It looks like you have some stuff going on the radar behind you, Jonathan.
Yeah, and some of that stuff is on the heavier side, and I'm expecting this to pick up in intensity through the evening and especially through the overnight for areas especially east of Orlando. Certainly, just like what we're seeing now, a few of these downpours and rumbles of thunder do get close to us along the I-75 corridor. They're just going to be a little more widespread and prolific. You can track those downpours and thunderstorms through the overnight by downloading the free News 6 weather app. Here we go again as we watch the heavier stuff right along our coast. And again, I'm expecting this to continue and even ramp up. So here we go, 5, 6 o'clock tonight. Future radar doing a pretty nice job showing the onset of those downpours and thunderstorms. That's 9 o'clock tonight. Again, all of this due to a developing system off of our coast. It's going to ramp up the wind along the coast and help to pump in these downpours and thunderstorms. So there you go, 4 o'clock tomorrow morning. Again, the commute could be very wet for some of us. Again, the further west you are, the drier we're going to be early tomorrow morning. Again, note the time, that's 4 to 5 o'clock on your morning. But most of this along I-95 and then pretty much right down I-4, maybe give or take a little bit further to the west. So again, some opportunity for some widespread rain tomorrow, especially closer to the coast. Now there's 11 o'clock in the morning. I think the heaviest stuff starts to wind down. There will be a few stray downpours lingering into the early afternoon along the coast. But by and large, as we get into the second half of Friday, the storm system itself lifts towards the Carolinas. And then that's whenever the coastal flood threat, that saltwater flood threats, have been dealing with anything close to coastal flooding from the tides coming up. Tomorrow afternoon and into the evening, that's when that part of this equation, this two-part kind of hazard, starts to ramp back up. Rainfall over the next 2 days, again, we're really focused on areas right along I-95, maybe as far to the west as I-4. And that's where we're going to have the potential for some of the freshwater flooding. That's from the rain. Again, the coastal stuff, obviously, from the tides being pushed in. Now here's a look at tomorrow.
Your forecast is sponsored by Ramjack.
Rain chances tomorrow at 60%. Again, the highest opportunity for rain going to be along into the east of I-4 and up and down the I-95 corridor. Groveland, good evening. We're at 83 tomorrow. Ocala, we're at 79, 78 in Palm Coast. It's still the muggy variety, the fresh, the nice crisp air, relatively speaking. That pours in as the system pulls away later on Saturday. A lot more scenes like this coming over the next 24 to 36 hours. It's a live look in Daytona Beach. The surf is going to increase. Again, the waves are going to be a little bit bigger. And again, there's basically going to be no beach over the next couple of days, really starting tomorrow. And that's due in part to that northeasterly breeze at about 18 miles an hour right now. That will pick up. So nasty times at the beach. And what we're really focused on for that potential and likely coastal flood threat, going to be high tide, of course, and we get that next. They're really starting tomorrow, go at 11 o'clock in the morning at Daytona Beach. Just after that at Ponce Inlet and Cocoa Beach, about 10:54 in the morning. So late tomorrow morning, and then again late tomorrow evening, and then we'll do it again on Saturday. So really watching those two threats big time as the system ramps up and pulls away. Now, as it does so, it brings in some drier air. So after a few straight coastal showers on Saturday morning, that nice refreshing feel comes in. We're waking up in the 60s on Sunday. Still obviously warm in the afternoons, but the humidity is not going to be here, and we have a nice start into the 60s, guys.
Looking good. Jonathan, thank you. Now to a question for our traffic safety expert.
Someone wanted to know more about our traffic history. Trooper Steve explains some of the state's earliest laws. That's next. As we take a live look at Mount Dora, you're watching News 6. We'll be right back.
Coming up in the morning, the flood threat rising along the coast. I'll have live updates every 10 minutes.
Plus, more and more children dealing with mental health problems. What's being done to try and help? We'll see you for News 6 Mornings starting at 6.
Little history lesson. What are some of the earliest traffic laws here in Florida? All right, let's take a little trip back in time. Florida, 1905. Believe it or not, that's when the state passed its very first traffic laws. And get this, cars had to be registered with the county tax collector. And instead of a license plates, many folks just painted numbers right on the car or even strapped like a leather tag to the bumper. So as for speed limits, they were blazing, y'all. A whopping 8 miles per hour in town and then 15 out in the country. So that's about as fast as modern day bicycles. But back then, think about it, with the dirt roads, wagons, and horses everywhere, that was considered pushing it. So those first rules set the stage for the system that we have pretty much today. So the next time you're frustrated sitting in traffic, just remember at least you're not stuck behind like a Model T doing like 8 miles an hour through downtown Orlando. If you got a traffic safety question or maybe a history question you want me to answer it, head on over to clickorlando.com/Ask Trooper Steve.
Okay, here's a question. Have you seen this driving around? Castleberry police officers say the rumors are true. The department now has a McLaren. You heard right. You can see it's complete with the department's badge and everything. They do want to clarify no taxpayer or city funds were used for the car. The McLaren Orlando dealership donated it for community outreach and public education. Police officers say you can expect to see it at upcoming events, not on patrol.
That's a nice donation.
That is a really nice one. All right, results one, your move. Next, News 6 at 5 is up next.
Anchor Matt Austin is in the newsroom with what's ahead.
Hey, you can arrest me if you're going to throw me in the back of a McLaren. That's not too bad. Ahead at 5, some growing backlash after a Seminole County elementary school worker spoke up about troubling thoughts, then resigned. Now, the head of Florida's Department of Education is speaking out. Coming up, the memo he sent to every school superintendent in the state. Plus, the man accused of starting California's deadly Palisades fire appears in federal court. What we've learned about his time living here in Florida. And your forecast is only minutes away. Storm clouds off the coast. We'll be right back.
Matt, mic check, please.
Hey, mic check. My name's Matt.
Thank you.
Now at 5, a pedestrian hit and killed on a busy road in Apopka. What we're learning about the driver as he appears in court. Plus,
The backlash continues after an employee at a Seminole County elementary school self-reported concerning thoughts and then resigned. Now we're hearing from the head of Florida's Department of Education on the matter that made him send a memo to every single superintendent in the state.
and new details about the man accused of setting off deadly fires in Southern California and his time spent in Central Florida leading up to his arrest. You're watching News 6 at 5.
We are following breaking news just into our newsroom. The Orange County Sheriff's Office confirming that a juvenile has been shot after a fight on a basketball court and later died at the hospital. This happened at Vogt Maloon Park off West Oak Ridge Road. The Sheriff's Office says another juvenile has been arrested for this after they ran up the street to Oak Ridge High School, where they were detained by the school resource deputy. The Orange County Sheriff's Office says there are no other suspects. We are keeping a close eye on this, and we'll bring you the very latest both on air and online. Taking a live look now at Daytona Beach.
Meteorologist Jonathan Kegas is here. Jonathan, we have some flood warnings in effect, right?
We do, yeah. That's going to be right along the coast, and that's from the tidal forces combined with a very stiff northeasterly breeze that is going to increase over the next couple of days to push the Atlantic inland. So the flooding coming from the ocean, not going to be induced by rainfall. Of course, if you live along the coast, you've seen a little bit of it this week. It's going to get a little worse. That's what the upgrade to the warning is for, starting tomorrow, going through at least Sunday morning. For perspective, if you live along the coast and you've gotten close to seeing flooding or have seen some flooding this week, we're expecting the tide to come in about a half a foot to a foot higher than what it has done at its highest point this week. So just some perspective for you. Again, coastal flood warnings for the tides go from Flagler County to northern Brevard County, again, through at least Sunday morning. That also means significant coastal erosion is likely going to happen as well. Flood watch for the freshwater flood potential. That's the flooding brought on by the heavy rainfall that we are expecting across parts of Central Florida. Right now, for Volusia and Brevard County, that's where some of the heaviest rain has focused over the past couple of days. Could pick up several inches starting this evening through early tomorrow morning. We'll talk much more about both of those hazards from this developing coastal storm, guys, coming up at about 5:17.
Jonathan, thank you. We got an update from Seminole County Schools within the past few hours. It's in response to a stern statement from the head of Florida's Department of Education urging every district across the state to be cautious when hiring.
It comes after a paraprofessional at Sable Point Elementary School self-reported thoughts about harming a student. The district says the employee quit. The campus was never under any active threat, and students and staff were unharmed. But the top education official in the state is now calling the situation a wake-up call. He is speaking one-on-one with your Seminole County community correspondent, Catherine Silver.
My initial reaction is that the facts here are extremely disturbing and frankly unacceptable.
Florida's Department of Education commissioner didn't hold back when speaking one-on-one with News 6 or in this memo he sent Thursday to every superintendent in the state. He says Seminole County's administration seemed more concerned with optics rather than immediate safety after a paraprofessional at Sable Point Elementary admitted to having thoughts about threatening a student. Do you think Seminole County Public Schools handled this situation appropriately?
Well, we're going to fact find and figure out what exactly happened.
The commissioner tells me what he does know is that parents, not just here at Sable Point, but throughout the district, should have been notified immediately about the incident after it happened.
I think they really dropped the ball in letting people know.
Parents were sent a message from the principal 9 days after a court filing shows the paraprofessional told a school resource officer he thought about harming a 6-year-old student and had previous thoughts about what it would be like to bring a gun to school.
Our tax dollars go to pay for these professionals to keep our kids safe when they're not around. So somebody dropped the ball. Hopefully they'll look at it.
Earlier this week, online outrage made its way to the school board in person, where staff at Sable Point also spoke out.
We are the first line of defense to protect our precious students, and you left us like sitting ducks.
The superintendent addressed the backlash by offering insight about the employee's background and the conversations within the district since September.
It's something that we are looking to see if we can do a better job.
She also says the para passed a background check, and the district was not notified about 2 other encounters with law enforcement earlier this year because he was not arrested. Is it reasonable to expect the district could have done more?
It is. I think, it's not just a background check where you see if the individual has priors. It's reference checks. So we want to make sure that every district in our state is doing everything they can.
The school district did send another message to families on Thursday saying this incident exposed a vulnerability in the process, and they are committed to strengthening their procedures moving forward. In the meantime, the commissioner says his office is making sure this now former employee cannot be hired at any other schools. In Seminole County, I'm Catherine Silver, News 6.
Tonight, intense moments as a Brevard County school was locked down for over an hour after a suspicious man entered the property. Deputies found and arrested him at Space Coast Junior Senior High. No one was hurt, but as your Port St. John correspondent James Sparvero explains, parents are worried because the man has a history of violent threats and lives in the neighborhood.
At Space Coast Junior Senior High School, parents are here early picking up their children after they heard this morning the school was on lockdown.
It's crazy times we live in,
It's so scary.
The Brevard County Sheriff's Office tells me it's all because this man, Marvin Guth, parked his car on school property. Deputies then say Guth left the car and he went home, where he lives just down the street in the same neighborhood. I can tell you from looking at Facebook and from talking to parents that rumors began circulating like he ran through a gate at the school. The Sheriff's Office says that's not true. But here's some facts. Deputies say he's known to this school because he's been trespassed before, specifically from Enterprise Elementary, which is right next to Space Coast Junior Senior High. In March, deputies say Guth threatened to burn down the school. I've censored the profanities in his arrest report, but it reads, Guth said, "I told these punk kids I'm going to kill them and burn this school to the ground. I'll make sure I get a school album with their names on it and make sure everybody knows their picture and their name for eternity." Guth was sentenced to a month in jail in this case. Have you heard the man's known to the school and he's been trespassed, not only from this school, but from an elementary school in the neighborhood too?
So I did, actually, my daughter had sent me a picture of his mugshot. Me and my coworkers were all talking about it. We're surprised that, he's out and about and is able to go and do this.
He probably just needs some help and not just be out on the streets waiting for his trial. Yeah, scary times, but we're safe now.
And Guth's in even more trouble because the Sheriff's Office says while he was disrupting school, he should have been going to court. Guth missed a hearing in an open case in which he's accused of threatening to kill deputies. The Sheriff's Office tells me he's now going to face a failure to appear charge as well. He's on his way back to the county jail on a no bond status. In Brevard County, I'm your Port St. John community correspondent, James Sparvero, News 6.
The 29-year-old man who is accused of being responsible for California's deadly Palisades fire allegedly threatened to burn down his sister's home in Melbourne just last month. That information emerging from today's bond hearing in federal court in Orlando. Now, a judge denied bond for Jonathan Rinderknecht, who was arrested in Melbourne this week. Your Orlando community correspondent Mike Valenti joins us now with what else we learned in court and what we know about Rinderknecht's time in Florida. Mike?
Yeah, Lisa, good evening. Thousands of miles away from the Pacific Palisades, Jonathan Rinderknecht remains in the Seminole County Jail in the custody of the U.S. Marshals Service as he awaits trial for his alleged role in one of the most destructive wildfires in California history. Jonathan Rinderknecht's family staying quiet outside the federal courthouse Thursday, 2 days after Rinderknecht was arrested during a traffic stop made by West Melbourne police and ATF agents. Authorities made the arrest near his sister's house in West Melbourne, where Rinderknecht had been living for 5 months. During Thursday's bond hearing, we learned more about Rinderknecht's time at this house, which included 2 recent visits by police. Prosecutors said that on September 17th, police were called to the house for an argument between Rinderknecht and his brother-in-law. They say the brother-in-law told officers that Rinderknecht said he would burn down the house. Then on September 25th, police returned to the same house for a report of an armed disturbance. Authorities say that Rinderknecht's father told officers that his son said he bought a handgun and would use it in self-defense against the brother-in-law if needed. No one was arrested in either of those calls, and officers had suggested to the family that they work to evict Rinderknecht. An ATF agent testified Thursday that Rinderknecht's family had expressed concerns about his declining mental state, and we learned that after his arrest, when authorities searched the house where Rinderknecht was staying, they say they found Rinderknecht's handgun zipped up inside a stuffed toy. We're also still working to figure out more about how Rinderknecht spent his time while in Florida. We know that at the time of his arrest, Rinderknecht was contesting 2 speeding tickets in Palm Bay. And on Thursday, the company DoorDash confirmed for News 6 that Rinderknecht did drive for the company in Florida, but that they deactivated his account, quote, immediately upon learning of his arrest. A DoorDash spokesperson also emphasized he was not dashing in California at the time of the fires. And Rinderknecht's criminal docket shows that his next court hearing is scheduled in Orlando at the federal courthouse on October 17th. We'll, of course, keep you updated should that change. Back to you.
All right, Mike, thank you. Plans are moving forward with a new road that could change how you get to Orlando Sanford International Airport.
The Expressway Authority says this new route is the best way to cut traffic and speed up your trip. Still to come, though, why some neighbors are worried and what comes next before breaking ground.
Well, she was seeking peace and quiet when she bought her house. Now she is fighting to keep it that way. What this legal battle could mean for East Orange County communities, that's next.
Today's Port Canaveral Cam is sponsored by Launch Credit Union.
If you're just joining us, we're following breaking news. The Orange County Sheriff's Office says one juvenile has shot another after a fight on a basketball court. This happened at Vote Maloon Park off West Oak Ridge Road. The Sheriff's Office says they have arrested the suspect, who they say ran up the street to Oak Ridge High School, where they were detained by the school resource deputy. The young man who was shot died at the hospital. Your Orange County community correspondent Troy Campbell is headed to the scene right now. See his live report coming up at 6 o'clock. A woman in East Orange County is pushing back against a new law. SB 180 was made to speed up building after a hurricane.
But now many people think it goes too far. Your Orange County community correspondent Troy Campbell is in East Orange County with the details.
Why is it so important that this rural boundary in this master plan stays in effect?
Because it's been over, I'm probably misquoting the years, but it's been over 8 years of just pure research, and there's actual data backing up what's in this plan.
On Tuesday, Rachel Hillebrand filed this lawsuit against the state, arguing the constitutionality of SB 180. Why is it so important for you to stand up and to make sure you have this lawsuit?
Just because I can actually put a face to it. Right now, it's just been the counties and the cities and Thousand Friends of Florida, which is great.
There are 5 defendants listed in the lawsuit, including Agriculture Commissioner Wilton Simpson and Florida's Chief Financial Officer Blaise Ngolia.
I'm standing up and saying, even if it is kind of a David and Goliath situation, I'm showing that there is actually a face to this lawsuit, and it's hurting more than just strokes on a paper.
What is your message to the state?
Just please listen and realize that the way this was done wasn't right.
This comes after 24 city and county governments filed their own lawsuits against the state over SB 180. Orange County, Windermere, Deltona, and Edgewater are all listed in that lawsuit. The lead litigation attorney for the suit says the legislation was aimed at speeding up the process for building following a hurricane, but instead says it's gone too far. What's your message to the public about just the whole situation?
Just, this is your time to really pay attention to what's happened locally. There's so many things going on in the world, and I know it's scary, but you can really make action at your local level, even though now I'm saying it's hard. But if you do show up, when we do show up, we do make change. We've seen it a lot, especially with my group, Save Orange Counties.
I'm your Orange County community correspondent, Troy Campbell, News 6.
All right, time now to get a check of your weather. We have meteorologist Jonathan Kagas standing by. He's got your radar tonight.
Yeah.
How is it looking?
It's a little active tonight, especially along the coast. We have those downpours coming in as expected, and those are going to increase in coverage and intensity as we move through the evening and then go through the early stages of the overnight. We have the downpours and a couple of rumbles of thunder closer to Daytona Beach tonight. Rockledge, we are seeing some of the heavy rain as well. Back towards Satellite Beach, we're seeing a few more of those scattered thunderstorms. The theme of the next couple of hours into tomorrow afternoon is going to be the heaviest rain going to kind of situate itself right along into the east of I-4 as these downpours and thunderstorms continue to develop off of the Atlantic and then be forced inland over the next, 24 to 36 hours. Here's a live look outside Port Canaveral, Brevard County. With our Launch Credit Union camera, we have air temperatures back to the upper 70s, the breeze at about 15 miles an hour. Now, here's how the rest of the evening is going to play out. There's 6 o'clock. Here's our cold front. We've been advertising this now for about a week. It is on the doorstep, and it's partially responsible into getting this area of low pressure to develop off of our coast. But you see all the heavy rain focusing especially along the coast. This is through 6, 7 o'clock tonight. Cold front comes down, and along that front, we have this big area of low pressure to help enhance some of that rainfall, especially, again, along into the south and east of I-4 and right along the coast. Counterclockwise motion also going to increase the tidal forces, or at least the tide in combination with the tidal forces from the big full moon we've had the last couple of nights, or at least a couple nights ago. That is going to increase the coastal flood threat. That's the saltwater flood threat. But you also see here with the heavy rain along our coast till about lunchtime tomorrow, there's also going to be a freshwater flood threat, some minor flooding likely in low-lying areas, especially in urban flooding, things like that. There's 6 o'clock on your Saturday morning. The storm itself is going to slide up towards the Carolinas, but behind it, that's when the drier and cooler air comes in. So by Saturday evening, you'll likely feel the change and that is something that's going to continue into Sunday and really through most of the upcoming work week. Now, flood watch for freshwater flooding is in play for Volusia and Brevard County. Could pick up several inches of rain in isolated amounts. We could go north of 5 inches of rain. So again, that could certainly lead to some flooding overnight and then during your morning commute tomorrow. So again, especially watching coastal areas. Notice though, there's not a ton of rain at all towards us along I-75. So certainly a split forecast. We had the same kind of issue last weekend where the heaviest rain focused along the coast. Now here's a look at tomorrow.
Your forecast is sponsored by Payne Law.
Rain chances for tomorrow up to 60%, especially along the coast. I think the bulk of this is going to fall overnight and then into tomorrow. Temperatures back into the lower 80s for your afternoon high temperature as we slide into tomorrow. Again, the heavy rain likely coming in overnight tonight and then for the first part of tomorrow before we start to dry things out overnight into the afternoon. Coastal flooding going to be a concern again. That is that saltwater flooding from the higher tides. We've already seen some minor flooding. That's expected to get a little worse over the next couple of days. And then the cold front really slides in as we move into Saturday afternoon into the evening. And this is what it does to your 7-day forecast. A few showers early on Saturday, and then we get sunshine for the week ahead and a nice, comfy feel all the way through the end of the work week, guys.
Looks so good. Mr. Kegas, thank you. Well, a major change is coming to I-4 near Disney World.
Ahead at 5:30, what you need to know about an upcoming lane shift.
I'm News 6 business reporter Donovan Myrie. The growth of mobile sports betting has exploded over the last 7 years. Does America now have a new online obsession with gambling? I'll have that story coming up next.
Your Thursday evening traffic alert. Listen, we're going to have a lot of active construction this evening, so please make sure you're paying attention. The projects last night, pretty hefty. I-95 north and southbound, lane closures present down in Melbourne and south of that area. Also, severe lane closures along the Florida Turnpike, not only on the south end in Osceola, but up on the north end, close towards 429 as well. Also, east and westbound along I-4 between the Turnpike and 528. And also, watch out for a lane shift that's taking place at I-4 and World Drive. I'm Trooper Steve with your News 6 traffic alert. Drive safely. I'll catch you in the morning.
Legal online sports betting in the U.S. has exploded in the last decade, and it all started with the Supreme Court. In 2018, the court's decision on PASPA, the Professional and Amateur Sports Protection Act of 1992, handed states the power to decide for themselves whether to legalize sports betting. And in just 7 short years, the growth has been nothing short of staggering. Back in 2018, gamblers wagered over $300 million in a month. By 2021, it was $7 billion a month. Fast forward to 2023, and Americans legally bet nearly $120 billion for the year. That's an average of almost $10 billion per month. So what's fueling the boom? Analysts point to 3 factors. 1, convenience. You can bet with just a tap on your phone 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. 2, low entry barriers. Minimum bets make it feel more like low-stakes entertainment than high-stakes gambling. And then there's the lure of a big payoff. Number 3, risking just a few dollars at a time. Flutter, the parent of FanDuel, believes the U.S. market for sports betting and online casino games could hit $63 billion annually by 2030. So what about the Sunshine State? In Florida, Hard Rock Bet, run by the Seminole Indian tribe, is the only legal sports book. DraftKings, FanDuel, and PrizePicks are available, but only for fantasy contests. Finally, the real story outside of Florida will be what happens when big states like California, Texas, and Georgia finally open their doors to online gambling. I'm Donovan Myrie, News 6.
If you or someone you know needs help with a gambling addiction, please reach out to the Florida Council on Compulsive Gambling. They can be reached at 888-ADMIT-IT or 888-236-4848. Well, it's been more than 15 years in the making. Now a major breakthrough for drivers is headed to Sanford's International Airport.
The Expressway Authority just made a major decision that could change your route to the runway. Details on the controversial plan coming up.
And from fighting e-bike theft to stopping cyber crimes, how local businesses in Osceola County are teaming up to keep tourists and employees safe.
Glad you're with us. I'm Lisa Bell.
I'm Matt Austin. You're watching News 6 at 5. We are following several top stories for you right now. First, gun violence involving young people. The Orange County Sheriff's Office confirming a juvenile has been shot after a fight on a basketball court. He later died at the hospital. This happened at Vote Maloon Park off West Oak Ridge Road. The Sheriff's Office says another teen has been arrested for this after they ran up the street to Oak Ridge High School, where they were detained by the school resource deputy. OCSO says there are no other suspects.
Space Coast Junior Senior High parents rushed to pick up their kids this morning after a man parked on school property, then left, prompting a lockdown. The man, Marvin Guth, is known to the school, having been trespassed before for threats. The sheriff's office says he missed a court hearing and is now back in jail without bond.
A 29-year-old man accused of starting California's deadly Palisades fire was arrested in Melbourne this week. At his Orlando bond hearing today, we learned he threatened to burn his sister's home just last month. Police also found a handgun hidden in a stuffed toy at his Florida home. Tonight, he's in jail. Taking a live look at our launch credit union Port Cam out at Port Canaveral. It's looking pretty gray out there.
It sure is. Meteorologist Jonathan Kagas has the latest on the flood warning along the coast. Jonathan?
Yeah, guys, and that's going to be because of tidal forces combined with a very strong northeasterly wind. There's also the potential for some freshwater flooding with the very heavy rainfall that's pretty much ramping up right now and will continue through at least about lunchtime tomorrow, especially along the coast as well. That's where the main flood threat's going to be, at least from the rain. You see the heavy rain pushing in again from the Atlantic. I'm expecting this to pick up in intensity through the evening, overnight especially, and then kind of ramp down a little bit as we get into the latter stages of the morning. Because of the freshwater flooding, because of the heavy rain that is out there, we do have a flood watch in play for Volusia and Brevard County, at least right now. That's where we've had the heavy rain over the past week or so, and that's where the heaviest rain is expected to fall, again, closer to the coast. But really, that heavy rain could extend as far inland as about I-4, give or take. Along the coast, this is going to be the likelihood of saltwater flooding. That is because of the astronomical high tides being higher than normal, combined with a stiff easterly breeze developing over the next couple of days to help give that extra push into the Atlantic again. That's a coastal flood warning. The tide is expected to come in higher than where it's been over the past week. So if you've gotten close to seeing flooding along the coast or have had it, we're expecting the tide to come in about a half a foot to a foot higher than what we just saw this past week. So some perspective so that you can prepare for, again, the higher high tides. We'll talk much more about that threat coming up at about 5:47, guys.
All right, Jonathan, thank you. We are staying on top of more breaking news. A grand jury has indicted New York Attorney General Letitia James. That's according to the clerk of court in the Eastern District of Virginia. In 2022, her office sued President Trump and the Trump Organization for fraud, leading a judge to issue a 9-figure judgment against the company. James has been under investigation since May over a 2023 mortgage she took out to help her niece buy a home in Virginia.
Just in the past few hours, a surprise development after a driver accused of hitting and killing a woman in Apopka yesterday faced a judge. That judge decided the teen driver should not be charged with a crime and released the young man. Your Orange County community correspondent, Tylisa Hampton, is digging into exactly what happened over the past 24 hours.
You can see this painted median right here in the middle of the road. This is where a witness says he saw something he never thought he would, a woman getting hit and killed by a car.
Does that bring back memories?
Yeah. David Aronowitz says he was driving down Main Street in Apopka when he saw a woman get hit by a car.
I was deep breathing, hyperventilating. I was like, I've never seen somebody get killed before, right? I mean, just first she's standing there and then she's gone. And watching the cops trying to give her compressions, I'm bawling.
19-year-old Jeremy Gonzalez was arrested and facing a charge of negligent vehicular manslaughter. However, when in court on Thursday, the judge said after reviewing the affidavit, he did not find probable cause and he was released on recognizance. Gonzalez was arrested Wednesday after police say it was around 6 a.m. he struck 39-year-old April Milligan at the intersection of Main Street. According to the affidavit, police note Milligan was standing in the middle turn lane, waiting for traffic to clear up when she was hit by Gonzalez.
And they see a woman in the yellow section, the median, and she was wearing black clothing. And I was thinking to myself, and I was about to tell my stepson this, why is it every time people wear dark clothing at night or when people can't see them?
The officer officer on scene wrote the teenager was driving in a, quote, reckless manner, went around cars, and was in the wrong lane when he hit Milligan. According to the affidavit, Gonzalez later told police he did not know he couldn't enter that lane.
She got hit right to my left. So what the driver did, he was in that yellow median because the left turn lane started just after. So he went into the yellow lane to get ready to go into the turn lane, and he just plowed into her.
The judge told Gonzalez that he was not out of the clear, as the state may charge at a later time.
And that witness says he would really like more signs to go up in the area, not just for pedestrians, but also for drivers to be cautious and make sure that everyone is paying attention. Reporting in Apopka, I'm News 6's Tylisa Hampton.
Well, you've heard about community neighborhood watches where homeowners keep an eye out for each other. But did you know in Kissimmee, a group of businesses have a neighborhood watch group?
They say one of the best ways to protect against crime and stay safe is if everyone participates. Your Osceola County community correspondent Laverne McGee has the details.
We want our employees safe, and of course the tourism industry is our main function here, right? So you want to keep your tourists safe.
Jim Nichols is the director of sales for the Calypso K Way Holiday Inn Express in Kissimmee. He helps lead the Osceola Chamber Safety Group meetings. It's a group of local businesses that have formed a neighborhood watch. They deal with everything from e-bike theft to cyber crimes.
It's really sharing information to make a safer community. So why not do it between businesses? Why not do it between law enforcement, emergency management, that type of thing?
John Newstreet is the president and CEO of the Osceola Chamber. The Osceola Chamber Tourism Safety Coalition relies on community partnerships.
Knowledge is power. You don't know what you don't know. So if something's happened on one property right next to you or down the street that could impact your business, it gives businesses a chance to prepare. And if we start to see trends, we're able to engage additional stakeholders like our destination marketing organization, the sheriff's office, the county, to address some of those issues together.
At last night's meeting, they encouraged people to sign up for their WhatsApp group. And they're hoping Osceola County Sheriff Chris Blackman will accept their invitation to speak at their next meeting. Nichols says the only way for this group to be successful is if as many people as possible join and look out for each other.
Everyone watching out for each other. It's like a family, right?
In Kissimmee, I'm your Osceola County community correspondent Laverne McGee, News 6.
Tonight, the attorney representing the family of a man who died after riding Stardust Racers at Epic Universe is once again calling on Universal to close the roller coaster until they get answers. Kevin Rodriguez Zavala was found unresponsive in his seat and later pronounced dead at the hospital. The medical examiner ruled the death an accident, citing multiple blunt impact injuries. In a new statement released today, attorney Ben Crump points to what he calls a new report claiming the same restraint problem happened again just hours after the ride reopened on Saturday. He says it matches witness accounts from Rodriguez Zavala's case, where the lap bar reportedly needed 4 attempts to lock correctly. We've reached out to Universal about this new claim. We'll let you know when we hear back. Universal has said the ride underwent comprehensive reviews by multiple parties, including state regulators and third-party engineers, before reopening.
Now to a major decision that could change how drivers get to Orlando Sanford International Airport. The Central Florida Expressway Authority just voted on a preferred route for a new connector to the airport. News 6's Angie Casada shows us what was decided and why not everyone is celebrating.
All those in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed? Motion passes.
The Central Florida Expressway Authority making it official, approving Route 2A as the preferred option for a new 2-mile connector linking State Road 417 directly to Orlando Sanford International Airport. After more than a year of studying 5 different routes, CFX says 2A strikes the best balance, improving access while limiting impacts to homes and the environment.
Where we find ourselves with economic development as well as the development of the community itself and our international airport is, if this does not move forward now, it'll never happen. It'll be total gridlock in this area.
The project was first studied back in 2007, but put on hold until Seminole County asked CFX to revisit it in 2022. The goal, cut traffic on local roads like East Lake Mary Boulevard and help travelers find the airport faster.
Huge. Sooner the better. Sooner the better. People from out of town, I know that they're no different than I am, maybe even people from the other side of Orlando. They don't fly out of here typically, and it's very hard to find.
But not everyone is on board. Some nearby residents worry about losing their homes or land, since the route could cut through part of a residential area.
We know it impacts people. We're sorry that it impacts folks, but typically, financially, these residents come out much further ahead.
The next step, design and environmental reviews, which CFX says will take several years before any construction begins. Reporting in Orange County, I'm Angie Casada, News 6.
Well, heavy traffic along I-4 near the attractions. It happens all the time.
Trooper Steve on patrol checked out a major change coming to one of our busiest stretches of highway.
We're westbound I-4 65-mile marker, getting ready to enter a lane shift that's going to exist here for the next 3 days. So, whoa, hasn't happened yet. So if you look over to the left-hand side, there is some new travel lanes getting ready to be installed. Right now, that shift has not happened just yet, but it is planning to happen at some point today and landing till Friday. They did say that it can indicate weather might slow this down. But look what is going to happen. This is where we're used to driving. The traffic is going to get shifted to that left-hand side. You see on the other side of the barrier there? Let's scoot on over a little bit so I can give you guys a better look of what's happening. We're going to get into the left lane just for demonstration purposes. So you see those lanes, guys, out in the median? Those are completed. So westbound lanes of I-4 scheduled over the next 3 days are going to get shifted into those travel lanes so that we can begin to build some new stuff. Right now this morning, the lanes have not officially shifted out yet. But you can see coming up over here where World Drive dips out, right here, this is where you're going to re-enter into the traffic.
Well, 1 year ago, Hurricane Milton made landfall in Florida as a powerful Category 3 storm.
Still to come, a look back at Milton's impacts and the damage it left behind at Tropicana Field.
The main thing is the personnel not being burnt out.
More resources are headed to Lake County Fire Rescue. How it will make the community safer next. Tonight, firefighters are racing to try to keep up in one of Central Florida's fastest growing areas. Lake County knows it can't wait much longer, but that price tag is pretty high.
Your Lake County community correspondent Emily McLeod found out exactly how much this will cost and who is footing the bill.
More resources are coming to Lake County Fire Rescue. Not only are new stations going up, the agency was recently awarded millions of dollars in federal grant funding to bring on 36 new firefighters.
Over the next 3 years, Lake County Fire Rescue will receive $7.5 million to bring on 36 new firefighters as part of the SAFER grant from Homeland Security.
The main thing is the personnel not being burnt out, having to work all these mandatory overtime, which is wonderful. But then again, it's not. It's you get burnt out. You get tired.
For Laura Sokolowski, not only will the new firefighters help the agency, the community will also be better protected.
If you have more people available to respond to a call, the better off it is. It's not like TV where you have these whole teams of like 5 or 6 people. Usually a team is 2 or 3 people.
Georgette Ayers lives down the street from a Lake County Fire Rescue station.
Oh, it's definitely a positive thing for our community. Everybody needs firefighters, especially in this area. We're short of everything, so it's definitely going to be a bonus.
The new positions will add a 3rd firefighter to 10 fire trucks across all 3 shifts and provide 6 additional firefighters for backfill.
The fire service is extremely labor intensive. Throwing ladders, pulling fire hose, doing CPR, cutting victims out of car crashes. It takes a highly trained human firefighter to do that, so this is a significant increase.
Public Safety Director David Kilberry points out the extra staffing has an extra benefit beyond public safety: homeowners insurance.
Personnel is a huge part of that and the resources that we bring to a firefight.
Okay, so it definitely could have an impact on people's insurance rates then.
Absolutely, yeah.
I'm your Lake County community correspondent, Emily McLeod, News 6.
All right, we want to check in now with meteorologist Jonathan Kegas, who's standing by. We have those flood concerns along the coast. Still seeing some showers on the radar.
We are, yeah. Some of these are on the heavier side, too. Watching this closely as they come in, and they are expected to become a little heavier overnight and become a little more widespread. A couple of downpours, again, moving through parts of West Orange County, close to Apopka, Zellwood, and Tangerine tonight. Also around Kissimmee, especially on the south side of town this evening. You can track these downpours alongside me tonight by downloading the free News 6 weather app. We have some thunder that's been hanging out in parts of Volusia County, closer to New Smyrna Beach and just south of Daytona tonight. Some of the most widespread rain that we've been tracking over the last hour or two has been around Rockledge, Port St. John, and to Satellite Beach as all of this continues to stream in. And again, this trend's going to continue through the overnight and then into tomorrow. We're going to be on the drier side, not immune to any heavy downpours along the I-75 corridor, but by and large through tomorrow afternoon, we're going to be on the drier side the further west you are of Orlando. Pinpointed the rest of your evening, and this is why we're concerned about a freshwater flood threat in addition to the saltwater flood threat along the coast, because the heavy rain is going to focus on areas. If you pretty much drew a line from about Lake City, Florida, down to Lake Okeechobee, the eastern half is going to get the wetter side of things, and the drier half is going to be closer to I-75. That's 9 o'clock with some pretty heavy rain sliding through, and then more heavy rain. That's 4 to 5 o'clock tomorrow morning. So the morning commute tomorrow could be on the wet side. Scattered downpours start to wind down a little bit. That's 11 o'clock on your Friday morning. I think by lunchtime, most of the heavy rain gets out of here. They'll still run the risk right along the coast for a couple of heavy stray downpours in the mix, but we will be on the trend to bring that drier air back in here to make way for a beautiful second half of the weekend. Although that coastal flood threat is going to continue. Again, that is not brought on by the rain, but rather than the high tides and the strong wind. In terms of the rainfall, again, we're watching the heaviest stuff kind of cling to the coast. Could pick up anywhere from 1 to 3 inches of rain on a widespread scale close to the I-95 corridor. In some cases, we could go north of 5 inches. So again, watching it closely, especially for the areas that picked up the heaviest rain over the last week. Now here's a look at tomorrow.
Your forecast is sponsored by Publix.
Rain chances at 60%, again, with those higher rain chances. Again, if you split Central Florida down the middle, pretty much right around Lake Apopka to the east of that. To the west, certainly not zero, but they're going to be a little bit lower than what we get into tomorrow afternoon. Again, rain chances going to keep the temperatures back to the lower 80s. This is the look that we're going to keep for the next couple of days. Live look in Daytona Beach, and we're watching the surf come in. Again, we're expecting high tide over the next couple of days to be about a half a foot to a foot higher than the highest high tide that we've seen so far over the past couple of days. So for some perspective, again, if you live along the coast, the breeze right now out of the north at about 15 miles an hour. And the tides, of course, that we were watching are the high tides, the ones we're going to be concerned with really starting tomorrow as that warning takes effect. Going to be 11 o'clock in the morning in Daytona Beach again, late into the morning before lunchtime, and then late tomorrow evening. And then that's going to continue at least until Sunday morning. That could be extended if we don't get the Atlantic to settle down a little bit. Again, that is brought on by the tides and the breeze. So even with the sunshine out on Saturday, we are still running the risk of that saltwater flooding and the likelihood of that going on. There's 10 o'clock on your Friday night. Again, you see it right there, those arrows pushing in. That's helping to force the Atlantic Ocean inland, combined with what's left over from the king tides over the past couple of days. Again, that highest astronomical tide of the year. That's 11 o'clock on your Saturday morning, still breezy, but you see the arrows now shifting a little bit to a more northerly component. That's going to bring in that cooler, drier fall air mass we've been advertising for about a week now. Upper 60s for low temperatures on Sunday morning, and that humidity wiped clean by this front. It's still going to be warm in the afternoon, guys, starting on Sunday. We'll call it comfortably warm.
All right, Jonathan, thank you. Still to come, 1 year after Hurricane Milton.
A look back at the shocking damage at Tropicana Field and what's next for the stadium. Plus. Still to come, a mariachi master receives one of Disney's highest honors.
Imagine this is what your front yard looks like after it rains. I'm News 6 investigator Erica Bergoglio. One Sumter County family says they've been fighting for a fix for years.
My brothers come and dig for bait. That's just how moist our land is.
Coming up, what they say needs to happen and the county's response.
Coming up in the morning, the flood threat rising along the coast. I'll have live updates every 10 minutes.
Plus, more and more children dealing with mental health problems. What's being done to try and help? We'll see you for News 6 Mornings starting at 6.
It was one of the most memorable sights in the aftermath of Hurricane Milton. The storm made landfall 1 year ago today at 8:30 at night, and some of the first daylight footage we saw was the condition of Tropicana Field's roof. It was shredded by the winds. Right now, the roof is still being fixed. These are photos of the city of St. Pete releasing in August showing the progress. Just this week, the Tampa Bay Rays' new owners promised to repair Tropicana Field and start the search for a permanent ballpark.
During this Hispanic Heritage Month, Walt Disney World is honoring the Mariachi Cobre director with its Legacy Award. Steven Esteban Carrillo has been performing for millions of visitors who walk by the Epcot Mexico Pavilion to the sounds of trumpets and violins.
Having that award and knowing that it's only 1% people that are nominated for that, I do feel proud because I always looked up to my brother. He's the one that inspired me, and about 8 years ago he got the award.
Carrillo was also featured on one of the Mariachi Forever stamps by the U.S. Postal Service. Ginger Gadsden is in the newsroom with what we are working on for News 6 at 6.
The State Education Department is setting its sights on a local school district for what they didn't tell parents, the example he says every district needs to follow. Plus, we're learning new details about the Central Florida man investigators say set deadly wildfires in California earlier this year, why police were called to his home recently. But first, we have breaking news about a deadly deputy-involved shooting in a story you will see only on News 6. A live look now at downtown Orlando from our Light Orlando Delivering Hope camera. You're watching News 6. We'll be right back.
How many times have you swept something under the rug to protect yourself?
Now at 6, the State Education Commissioner putting school districts on notice after a local school employee self-reported concerning thoughts and resigned. What he says all districts need to do after parents say they were not notified for days. Plus, we're digging into the background of a Brevard County man accused of setting deadly wildfires in California. What we know about his time spent here in Central Florida. One family has been begging for flooding solutions for decades now. How much they say relief will cost. News 6 at 6 starts now.
We're following two breaking news stories tonight. We have exclusive details on a deadly deputy-involved shooting in a story you'll see only on News 6.
But first, we want to get right to News 6's Troy Campbell, who is live at a shooting that left one juvenile dead and another in handcuffs. Troy.
Yeah, that's right. Right now, we are as close as we can get to this scene. We're walking around. We're looking where investigators are. And if you take a look behind me, you can see the Orange County Sheriff's Office is around a basketball court here at the YMCA. So, according to the Orange County Sheriff's Office, their deputies were called out here to the 800 block of West Oak Ridge Road this afternoon on reports of a shooting. Now, investigators say they uncovered two teens got in some sort of a fight or altercation while on the basketball court here at the park. This resulted in one of those teens firing their gun at the other. Investigators say that teen was taken to the hospital where he died. Well, when the shooting happened, the shooter, he took off. He ran to nearby Oak Ridge High School, which is right next door. Orange County Public Schools says they ended up going on lockdown as a result. And again, this was after dismissal time this afternoon. Now, thankfully, we're told a school resource deputy was able to catch the shooter. And again, investigators are still out here collecting evidence. And we are told that the shooter is in custody and Oak Ridge High School is no longer on lockdown. And we will continue to remain out here. And it's unclear at this point how much longer investigators will be here collecting evidence. Live in Orange County, Troy Campbell, News 6. Back to you.
Thank you, Troy. Also breaking, a story you'll see only on News 6. More than 5 years ago, an Orange County deputy shot and killed Salathis Melvin outside the Florida Mall.
Prosecutors never charged the deputy who pulled the trigger, but tonight we've learned exclusive details about a financial settlement between the Orange County Sheriff and Melvin's family.
News 6 investigator Mike DeForest has been trying to get that settlement agreement for months, and he just obtained it. So, Mike, what does it say?
Got it right here, Matt. According to this settlement agreement, the family of Salathis Melvin will receive a payment of $1 million. $1 million. In addition, the former Orange County deputy who shot and killed Melvin wrote an apology letter to the family. 21-year-old Salathis Melvin was shot dead outside the Florida Mall in August 2020 by an undercover Orange County deputy sheriff. Now, that shooting caused a public outcry with protesters demanding the release of body camera video. Investigators say Deputy James Montiel was in the Florida Mall parking lot attempting to arrest a different man on a warrant when Melvin began running away. According to authorities, Melvin was holding a gun that they later discovered had been stolen. As Melvin ran away, investigators say Deputy Montiel shot him in the back. Now, the sheriff's office and state investigators eventually cleared Deputy Montiel of any criminal wrongdoing. Melvin's mother later sued Orange County Sheriff John Mina and Deputy Montiel, alleging civil rights violations. This past summer, those parties settled the lawsuit, but the terms of that settlement agreement were not disclosed until I obtained it. Under this settlement, Salathis Melvin's mother received $1 million. The family's attorney received an additional $300,000 to cover their legal costs. That money was paid by the Florida Sheriff's Risk Management Fund, which provides liability insurance to law enforcement agencies. Now, besides that financial payout, as part of the settlement agreement, now former Deputy James Montiel agreed to write an apology letter to Melvin's family. Now, that apology letter is considered confidential and cannot be shared with any news media, law enforcement, or prosecutorial authority. The sheriff's office fired Montiel last year after he was arrested on completely unrelated criminal charges, including possession of child pornography. He's pleaded not guilty to those crimes. Now, as this settlement here notes, Montiel and the sheriff do not admit liability for Melvin's death. Reporting live in the newsroom, Mike DeForest, News 6.
Mike, thank you. When we're not on the air, you can always get breaking stories and updates at clickorlando.com.
We are tracking some heavy rain tonight. This is all because of a developing area of low pressure off of our coast, sending in these kind of bands of heavy rain and a few rumbles of thunder as well. I've been watching this this line of thunderstorms closer to us in Rockledge, Satellite Beach, into Melbourne tonight. Some some lightning strikes getting involved in the action right now. Also for us closer to Daytona Beach into Deltona, pretty much taking a trip down I-4 tonight out of the northeast. Some pretty heavy rain right here, and this is going to be the focal point right along the I-95 for the potential for some freshwater flooding getting into tomorrow afternoon. I think the heaviest of the rainfalls from this point through the overnight and into the early morning hours of your Friday. Flood watch in play again. This is the freshwater flood watch for us from the heavy rainfall for Volusia and Brevard. Saltwater flooding also a likelihood. We'll talk much more about that coming up at about 6:17.
Jonathan, thank you. Safety is non-negotiable. That's part of the message tonight from the Florida Department of Education. The agency released a stern memo to all district leaders earlier today. It comes after a school employee at Sable Elementary in Longwood admitted to having violent thoughts toward the students.
He resigned afterward, and officials say the school was never under an active threat. But parents say they weren't notified about this for days. Your Seminole County community correspondent, Catherine Silver, is looking into what the state is claiming and the response we got today from the district.
My initial reaction is that the facts here are extremely disturbing and frankly unacceptable.
Florida's Department of Education commissioner didn't hold back when speaking one-on-one with News 6 or in this memo he sent Thursday to every superintendent in the state. He says Seminole County's administration seemed more concerned with optics rather than immediate safety after a paraprofessional at Sable Point Elementary admitted to having thoughts about threatening a student. Do you think Seminole County Public Schools handled this situation appropriately?
Well, we're going to fact find and figure out what exactly happened.
The commissioner tells me what he does know is that parents, not just here at Sable Point, but throughout the district, should have been notified immediately about the incident after it happened.
I think they really dropped the ball in letting people know.
Parents were sent a message from the principal 9 days after a court filing shows the paraprofessional told a school resource officer he thought about harming a 6-year-old student and had previous thoughts about what it would be like to bring a gun to school.
Our tax dollars go to pay for these professionals to keep our kids safe when they're not around. So somebody dropped the ball. Hopefully they'll look at it.
Earlier this week, online outrage made its way to the school board in person, where staff at Sable Point also spoke out.
We are the first line of defense to protect our precious students, and you left us like sitting ducks.
The superintendent addressed the backlash by offering insight about the employee's background and the conversations within the district since September.
It's something that we are looking to see if we can do a better job.
She also says the para passed a background check and the district was not notified about 2 other encounters with law enforcement earlier this year because he was not arrested. Is it reasonable to expect the district could have done more?
It is. I think, it's not just a background check where you see if the individual has priors. It's reference checks. So we want to make sure that every district in our state is doing everything they can.
The school district did send another message to families on Thursday saying this incident exposed a vulnerability in the process and they are committed to strengthening their procedures moving forward. In the meantime, the commissioner says his office is making sure this now former employee cannot be hired at any other schools. In Seminole County, I'm Catherine Silver, News 6.
These are the sites of the deadly California wildfire from earlier this year, burning more than 23,000 acres and killing 12 people. News 6 is learning today the 29-year-old man who is accused of being responsible for the deadly Palisades fire allegedly threatened to burn down his sister's home in Melbourne just last month. Now, this information came from today's bond hearing in federal court in Orlando, where a judge denied bond for Jonathan Rendernecht.
He was arrested in Melbourne just yesterday. Your Orlando community correspondent, Mike Valenti, has been digging into what Rendernecht has been up to in Florida and what else we learned in court.
Thousands of miles away from the Pacific Palisades, 29-year-old Jonathan Rendernecht remains inside the Seminole County Jail as he awaits the next steps in the criminal proceedings for his alleged role in one of the most destructive fires in California history. Jonathan Rendernecht's family staying quiet outside the federal courthouse Thursday, 2 days after Rendernecht was arrested during a traffic stop made by West Melbourne police and ATF agents.
Authorities made the arrest near his sister's house in West Melbourne, where Rinderknecht had been living for 5 months. During Thursday's bond hearing, we learned more about Rinderknecht's time at this house, which included 2 recent visits by police. Prosecutors said that on September 17th, police were called to the house for an argument between Rinderknecht and his brother-in-law. They say the brother-in-law told officers that Rinderknecht said he would burn down the house. Then on September 25th, police returned to the same house for a report of an armed disturbance. Authorities say that Rinderknecht's father told officers that his son said he bought a handgun and would use it in self-defense against the brother-in-law if needed. No one was arrested in either of those calls, and officers had suggested to the family that they work to evict Rinderknecht. An ATF agent testified Thursday that Rinderknecht's family had expressed concerns about his declining mental state, and we learned that after his arrest, when authorities searched the house where Rinderknecht was staying, they say they found Rinderknecht's handgun zipped up inside a stuffed toy. We're also still working to figure out more about how Rinderknecht spent his time while in Florida. We know that at the time of his arrest, Rinderknecht was contesting 2 speeding tickets in Palm Bay. And on Thursday, the company DoorDash confirmed for News 6 that Rinderknecht did drive for the company in Florida, but that they deactivated his account, quote, immediately upon learning of his arrest. A DoorDash spokesperson also emphasized he was not dashing in California at the time of the fires.
Rinderknecht's criminal docket shows that his next hearing is scheduled for October 17th. We'll, of course, keep you updated should that change. I'm your Orlando community correspondent, Mike Valenti, News 6. Still to come on News 6 at 6, you've likely heard the saying, when it rains, it pours, but for one family in Sumter County, when it rains, it floods. The changes they want to see made to protect their property.
This portion of the news is sponsored by Advent Health, helping the communities we serve to feel whole.
Flooding turning a family's life upside down. This is what their front yard has looked like for the past month.
Yeah, the family lives in a neighborhood along County Road 519A in Coleman. That's off US 301 near I-75. News 6 investigator Erica Bergoglio is in Sumter County, where the family is fighting for a fix.
Something so simple as being able to get in and out of your home has now become a luxury for one Sumter County family. Flooding is the new normal in this neighborhood. This is what their property looks like after it rains. When it rains, it pours for Rain Williams, her husband, and their 3 kids.
We've been out of power a few times because the trees are just sitting in water, falling.
Their front yard has been underwater for the past month. Your whole yard is covered.
This is just lightly.
This is light.
This is light. So the water goes all the way up to my driveway.
Williams and her family had been staying in a hotel because they couldn't get into their home. They've had to do this multiple times when the water gets too high. The family moved to the property 15 years ago. Williams said it did not flood until 2017 when Hurricane Irma destroyed their home. Then their new home flooded during Hurricane Milton last October. Williams has been calling Sumter County to try to get some help or have someone come pump out the water. But like her street, she hit a dead end.
The county basically telling us because it's not an emergency that there's nothing that they can do, and it'll cost them millions of dollars to build a dam or a canal or anything to help us.
News 6 emailed Sumter County and asked if there's anything it can do to fix this flooding. A spokesperson told us Public Works is looking into the case. In Sumter County, Erica Bergoglio, News 6.
But when you see that just from a little bit of rain, your heart just goes like,
that's
oh.
a problem.
No doubt. Thankfully, at least for them, the heaviest should stay to the east. And we are watching for 2 different types of flood threats. It gets kind of confusing when you're breaking it down on the map.
Sure.
We have the saltwater flood threat because of the high tides and the strong easterly winds that are going to be developing tomorrow and over the weekend. And then we also have the freshwater flood threat from the heavy rain that we are watching develop right now, especially for areas along into the east of I-4, then right up and down the I-95 corridor. So the heaviest rain that I'm tracking right now is in between Rockledge and Satellite Beach. You see some thunder, some lightning with it again. You're hearing some thunder. And then also for us in Volusia County, closer to New Smyrna Beach, Port Orange, parts of extreme southern Flagler County getting in on it. So not everybody going to see the widespread heavy rain, but the heaviest rain is going to try to focus again for areas about I-4, give or take, and then east of that, and then right up and down the I-95 corridor again. So here we go with the clouds and rain forecast. Rest of the evening, I think Future Radar doing a nice job right now showing these little tiny banding features, if you will, as the wind increases off the coast, as our coastal low develops. There we go, 7, 8 o'clock on your Thursday evening later tonight. And you see that persistent train of moisture coming in, pretty much stopping. If you drew a line from about Lake City, Florida, down through Lake Apopka into Lake Okeechobee, the heaviest rain is going to be situated on the eastern side of that. Not a ton of rain for us along I-75 this time around, but the heavy rain should last overnight and when you wake up tomorrow, so it could be a rough morning commute tomorrow, especially again along into the east of I-4 and up and down the I-95 corridor. So make sure you tune into Chief Meteorologist Candace Campos tomorrow. She'll be tracking that rain for you, so it could be heavy at times. There's 5 o'clock in the evening. I think most of the rain is out of here. There will still be pockets of a few heavier downpours, but I think the worst of that is going to be pushing on out as we switch our air masses up. For the first time this season, that fall-like air mass that we've been advertising is on the way. Now, in terms of how much, again, you see the highest opportunity along I-4 into the east and then right up and down the I-95 corridor. In isolated cases, we could go north of 5 inches of rain, and that's why we're looking for at least the potential for a little bit of minor flooding, especially in poor drainage areas as we continue to see the persistent push there of the heavy rain. We certainly have the darker clouds out there. Live look right now, downtown Orlando with our Light Orlando delivering Hope Skycam. Air temperatures back to the low 80s. The breeze out of the north-northeast at about 10 to 15 miles an hour. Now here's a look at tomorrow.
Sponsored by Strata Air Conditioning and Heating. AC emergency, you ought to call Strata.
It's cooler, but it's still that muggy coolness tomorrow. Once we get to the second half of the weekend, that's when the air mass changes. Rain chances up to 60%, especially again drawing that line right about through Lake Apopka into the east. That's where the heaviest is expected to fall. Air temperatures in the low to mid 80s. Once that front passes, that's when we start to get the nice stuff in here. Really, when you wake up on Sunday morning, you will wonder what the heck happened as that front came through. It is going to feel very nice, not only when you wake up on Sunday, but really for the next couple of days. But again, really just watching the dual flood threat again, the higher than normal high tides again, that's going to stay with us even with the sunshine. So important to note that that coastal flood threat, that high tide flood threat going to last through the weekend. That is not brought on by rain, but by the king tides we've been talking about. And then that strong push of air from the east to kind of force the Atlantic inland. By the way, for perspective, the tide's expected to be about a foot higher than what we've seen this week. So if you've gotten close to flooding,
that's significant.
Make sure you take action. Yeah, for sure.
All right, Jonathan, thank you. All right, Ryan's in for Jamie tonight.
All right, this is the development we have all been hoping for.
Some encouraging news for Ethan Pritchard, the Florida State freshman from Seminole County who is recovering after he was shot more than a month ago. We'll tell you the latest, plus we'll have reaction from Ethan's dad, and he is a boon to Boone's offense. Coming up, we'll hear from Aaron Hardy, star running back for the undefeated Braves. We'll be right back. Welcome back to News 6. We start with some great news for a Florida State Seminole. Ethan Pritchard, a freshman linebacker from Seminole County, has been moved to a rehabilitation facility in Jacksonville to continue his recovery. The former Seminole High star was shot in the back of the head while visiting family in late August. He had been in a Tallahassee hospital before being moved earlier today. Earl Pritchard, Ethan's dad, released the following statement that read in part, quote, "I am so thankful for everyone who has prayed for my son. There have been a lot of ups and downs over these last 39 days, and it is remarkable that Ethan and I were able to leave the hospital together today." Pritchard continued, quote, "Coach Norvell has checked in every day and has been a constant presence visiting us here at the hospital, and his players and staff have continued to make us feel part of the team. I can't say enough about the support we have received from our hometown and all of Seminole County. Coach Carl Calhoun and Seminole High School have created a tremendous support system for me, and I'm truly thankful for the culture we are a part of," end quote. Certainly a heartwarming development for that young man and his family. The high school football season, meanwhile, rolls on into week 8. Several stops for News 6 tomorrow night, including Boone High School, where the Braves hope to stay unbeaten when they host Winter Park. Aaron Hardy is a senior running back at Boone, and he's done some serious work in the backfield, averaging nearly 150 rushing yards a game and has found the end zone a total of 13 times this season. He's hoping to get to 1,100 yards and 20 TDs. Hardy is a man of few words, but loads of talent.
How would you describe your individual play?
Very nice. I am pretty fast, pretty strong, so I mainly put it at that.
What's the most fun part for you for playing for the squad?
Probably getting first downs and scoring.
He loves football, and he likes, being a teammate to these guys, and they, they've embraced him as kind of our show pony this year.
In the NHL tonight is the third straight opening night. The Tampa Bay Lightning will open the campaign this evening at home against Ottawa. There is a new regime. And the Orlando Solar Bears, Matt McDonald enters his first season as head coach and general manager. Put his guys through the paces this morning before they boarded a bus south for preseason games against the rival Florida Everblades.
I think we have a pretty skilled group in here, but we got to make sure that we're going to be a team that works hard every day, and we're going to be a competitive group and have a great attitude.
I think it's a great opportunity for us to learn and to get a lot from him because he's been through everything. He's been to the championship, and that's where we want to get to. So I think he brings everything to the table, and we just got to follow along.
Best of luck to the Solar Bears. They will open up at home against the Everblades to start the regular season.
They're fun to watch.
Yes, they are.
All right.
And love the Pritchard update, too.
Oh,
That was fantastic.
great.
Good stuff.
For sure.
Hey, more news coming up at 9 o'clock on clickorlando.com and your News 6 Plus streaming app.
Have a good night, everybody. We'll see you at 9.
Lights up or lights down?
You should be fine. It's nothing severe. It's just heavy rain.
Okay. 8 seconds. Here we go. 5, 4, 3, 2.
A saltwater flood threat and freshwater flood threat ramp up overnight. We'll have the latest on tracking a coastal storm coming up tonight at 11.
Very nice. And 4 seconds. 5, 4, 3, 2.
2 separate flood threats increase overnight and into tomorrow. We'll have the latest at 11.